Hello super friends and welcome back to Superman's Fortress of Solitude, your home for all things DC related. On today's agenda, Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern. While Alan Scott may be the first human Green Lantern and an honorary member of the Green Lantern Corps, Hal Jordan is actually the first human Green Lantern Corps member to receive his own titled series and considered one of the greatest of all time when it comes to the Green Lanterns. Originally conceived of by John Byrne, featuring in Captain Atom in Strange Adventures issue 22 of 1952, Hal wouldn't show up for the first time until Showcase 22 in October of 1959, created by John Byrne and artist Gil Kane, whose visual inspiration came from the actor Paul Newman. You may know this or not, but at the time, DC's concept was to introduce new characters through Showcase, and if they became popular, they would receive their own titled series further down the line. This was the case for Green Lantern. Born to Martin and Jessica Jordan, Hal would lose his father at a young age, who was a test pilot, and he died in a crash. Following in his father's footsteps, Hal actually became a fighter pilot, before being the recklessly courageous test pilot that we know of from Ferris Aircrafts. While the Green Lantern of Sector 2814, Abin Sur, crashed on Earth, he would command his ring to go out and find a worthy successor to him that was capable of overcoming great fear. In doing so, the ring actually chose Hal Jordan, becoming his successor and a success in the 3-issue run of Showcase. Hal was then given his own Green Lantern series in 1960 that ran a total of 89 issues into 1972, with the famous O'Neil-Adams run starting in issue 76 in 1970. It was Dennis O'Neil who would actually come up with the concept of turning Hal into an intergalactic police officer, moving the stories to tackle social issues such as power, sexism, racism, and exploitation, becoming what was known as the first socially conscious superhero of the time. The Green Lantern popularity fell into decline. Adams and O'Neil would decide to bring on Green Arrow as his partner, but even he failed to bring back the audiences. This led to its cancellation in 1972 with issue 89. The pair would conclude their story as a backup feature in The Flash, issues 217 to 219, while the Green Lantern would continue to appear in Flash comics after that. Green Lantern continued up until Crisis, with Green Lantern issues 151 to 152. 1982 to 1984. Hal would become an exile to space by the Guardians, having been accused of spending far too much time looking after Earth when in reality he had a whole sector to protect, as was his duty. Upon his eventual return to Earth, Hal had a decision to make: Carol Ferris, Earth and Love, or his power ring. Hal actually chose to give up his role as Earth's Green Lantern and his power ring. The Guardians called on John Stewart at this time, who would replace Hal on active duty. Post-Crisis would actually see Hal return, along with several other Lanterns, becoming what we refer to as Earth Corps, before the Guardians returned, and Hal would help them rebuild the Green Lantern Corps. In the 1990s, this was a time for reimaginings and expanding origin stories in DC Comics. Green Lantern was no different in this regard, with Emerald Dawns Part 1 and 2 expanding the details of Hal's childhood and the downfall of the villainous Sinestro. In 1992, we would receive Green Lantern Gambit's Tale, wherein this Guardian would ask Hal to battle a renegade Guardian attempting to alter history. During 1993's Reign of the Supermen, Coast City would be destroyed by Mongul and his army, creating the story that we call Emerald Twilight, wherein we would see Hal recreate Coast City and the ones that he loved through his ring, attempting to overcome the grief that came with everyone he knew and his city being destroyed. Eventually, the Guardians would call Hal back to Oa, facing the music for abusing the power of the Green Lantern ring. Hal was unsatisfied with how the Guardians see things. Driven to anger, Hal actually absorbed the energies of the Guardians. In turn, this made Hal go insane, taking full control over the central power battery, murdering countless Green Lanterns, as he did, I might add, stealing their rings, adding it to his own power, along with killing his mentor and friend, Kilowog, even Sinestro. Renouncing the Green Lanterns and now calling himself Parallax after absorbing the central power battery, Kyle Rayner would become the Green Lantern, along with the last power ring, continuing his run as the villain Parallax into the event 0 Hour Crisis in Time, wherein Green Arrow would ultimately put an arrow through Parallax's chest, before appearing again in 1996 as Parallax for Final Night, redeeming himself with a sacrifice. Hal becoming the Spectre's host in 1999 with The Day of Judgment, while also appearing in Superman's Emperor Joker storyline. Legends of the DC Universe, issues 33 through to 36, Spectre, Volume 4, in 2001, running for a total of 27 issues, and the Identity Crisis storyline, before being relaunched in 2004 with Green Lantern Rebirth, that retconned his time as the villain Parallax to the whole time he had been possessed by this entity who he had surrendered himself to. DC would continue to use the first Human Core member over their history, appearing in many stories, events, facing retcons and continuity changes, and so much more, such as Infinite Crisis, 1 year later, the Agent Orange story arc, Justice League, Cry for Justice, Blackest Night, Green Lantern God Hand, DC Rebirth, Dark Knight's Metal, Dark Crisis, and so much more, leading into DC's current state of their all-in phase.